Welcome in, everybody, to the Clown Show. This is the Gary Tyrant Fucktard Gensler video. I am the Crypto Bull God. If you appreciate the fact that I am going to provide you with 100% factual information that will point to Gary Gensler being a complete fucktard, please hit the thumbs up. Drop me a comment, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon for notifications to know when I will call out a fucktard like this. Let's get into the content. Alrighty then. So we're going to have some fun with this one. Now, the first video that I would like everyone to take a look at here, Gary Gensler, actually, this is very hard to believe. Gary Gensler was actually very pro-crypto. He taught a class at MIT on blockchain. So I want to take you to a series of videos here that will clearly display to you that Gary Gensler was either lying years ago or Gary Gensler is lying today. I wonder which one it is. Let's take a look. Now,
so governance is tough. You could create Uber or Lyft on top of a blockchain technology today. Well, maybe in 5 years you could. It would have the performance. Sylvia McCally's Algorand, who's a Turing Award winner at MIT that I work with. Sylvia's got a great technology that has performance. You could create Uber on top of it. The question is then who would update the software?
Okay, so in this video, inarguably, Gary is promoting the cryptocurrency Algorand, speaking to the benefits that this crypto blockchain technology could provide. Let's go to the next video.
Bitcoin's now the currency that's in, hypothetically, the Bitcoin or some crypto.
Now, right there, I'm going to pause it because Gary acknowledges that Bitcoin is a crypto or some other crypto, implying that there are other technologies out there that are cryptocurrency.
Aline would tell us it would be some other crypto. Maybe it's Algorand or something.
Okay. Again, promoting Algorand.
What happens? What's going to happen to the flexibility of the...
Okay, let's go to this article. Algorand in this article is dated April 18th, 2023. Algorand is one of 6 tokens that Gary Tyrant Fucktard Gensler claimed was an unregistered security in the SEC's lawsuit against crypto trading platforms, Bittrex. Let's jump to the next video, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this one, I really want you to pay attention to because, again, where we're going with this in time is that Gary started with a few cryptos. And he's called them securities, and they increase over time. But I want you to hear Gary's positioning just a few years ago before he was the SEC chair. Let's tune in.
So we already know in the U.S. and in many other jurisdictions that 3/4 of the market are not what would be called secure.
Wait a second. Gary just said 3/4 of the market are not securities. Okay.
Securities, even in the U.S., Canada, and Taiwan, the 3 jurisdictions that follow something similar to the Howey test that we've talked about.
Oh, there's the Howey test. He's saying 3/4 of the market are not securities, ladies and gentlemen.
3/4 of the market is non-securities. It's just a commodity.
Whoa! Oh my God! Mind fucking blown, ladies and gentlemen. He has just said 3/4 of the market are not securities there, and he's trying to find the word commodity. Did you know that the CFTC, we'll get into this in a little bit, has classified Ethereum at the very least as a commodity? And we'll get into what we are going to get into what Gary Gensler classifies Ethereum as. We're going to get to that shortly. But right here, he has said 3/4 of those cryptocurrency tokens are not securities. They're classified as something like a commodity. Let's go.
Cash crypto. So you'll hear debates about initial coin offerings and what's a security and what's not a security. Relevant and important debate. But for 3/4 of the market, it's not particularly relevant as
Oh my God.
a legal matter.
Jesus Christ, this man just came out. Excuse my profanity. I really do. Excuse my profanity. This is the most heated I've ever been in the time that I've been invested in this market, and I've been knowledgeable about this market since the summer of 2017. Okay? This man just came out and said, even with the whole ICO thing, this isn't a legal matter. Let's rewind this. I really want you to listen to this part again.
You'll hear debates about initial coin offerings and what's a security and what's not a security. Relevant and important debate. But for 3/4 of the market, it's not particularly relevant as...
Again, he highlights 3/4. And for those that aren't good with fractions, I know some of us struggle with the basics of mathematics. 75% of the market are not securities.
As a legal matter, as a regular. So
he just said,
debate. But for 3/4 of the market, it's not particularly relevant as a legal matter.
As a legal matter. Ladies and gentlemen, the ICO isn't relevant for 3/4 of the crypto market. It's not a legal matter. Interesting. Interesting, Gary. Interesting. Let's go to the next video. This one is very interesting.
Technology that I think is most transformative in our time is artificial intelligence. It's not crypto, as much as we're going to discuss.
Okay, now what I found interesting about this one, I just wanted to hit on this really quick. Here's a man who was excited enough about blockchain technologies to teach an entire course at MIT, but yet now all of a sudden he's not excited about crypto. He's poo-pooing on it and talking about AI. Just wanted to point that out there. I don't hidden agendas, I don't know. Let's go to the next video. Oh, this one's a good one. Did I want to jump to this one? I guess I want to jump to this one. Let's jump to this one.
The business models need to adjust to come into compliance, and that may be hard work, but it's going to promote trust in this field, which otherwise it's just, as I've often said, it's a Wild West and a bunch of casino operators.
In your complaint, you name specifically some tokens that you say are unregistered securities. I assume that that's not a complete list. Are you going to come up with a complete list? Are you going to do this by enforcement action, or might there be a regulatory statement? These are all of the cryptos that we think are securities that are subject to regulation.
Number one, we've already had those regulatory statements, and they're by Congress and the U.S. Supreme Court. And an investment contract is one of 30 terms in the definition of securities. And as Thurgood Marshall, a famous justice of the Supreme Court, said, Congress painted with a broad brush. We've secondly, yes, we've brought enforcement actions, well over 100, and we've been clear, whether it's settled or litigated actions, and courts have seen us lay out the facts to the public, that most of these come under the securities laws. And it comes down to this, David. The public is relying on a group of entrepreneurs in the middle, and they're looking at the Twitter feeds, they're looking at the website.
Now, I just want to point out to you, he said here, first off, he's being clear with the public. And most of these, now again, a couple years ago, this was just a few years ago, this fucking ass clown said that 3/4 of the crypto market are not securities. Now he's saying most of the market is securities. How is this man still in power? I don't understand. Let's continue on. Now, this gets really interesting. We're going to get into, there's a couple things in these videos that I want to point to, but this was You can see here, this was a month ago approximately, where he testified before Congress, and he was asked a very simple question. Now remember, a few years ago, Gary Gensler came out and said a few years ago, most of these cryptos are commodities. They're not securities. Let's listen to him explain the number one altcoin, Ethereum. What is Ethereum?
Thank you, Chair Gensler. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Ether is one of the most popular digital assets and powers the Ethereum blockchain. Back in 2018, then SEC Corporation Finance Director Bill Hinman stated that he believed Ether was not a security. Last month, CFTC Chair Benham expressed his view that Ether is a commodity. The State Attorney General of New York asserted in a court filing last month that Ether is a security. Clearly, an asset cannot be both a commodity and a security. Do you agree?
Now listen to this response, okay, because we're going to get past this response here. He's asking a very basic question, and I think it's his responsibility, Gary's responsibility here, to answer this in layman's terms. But instead, I think he takes a little jab at, what was this guy's name? I forget. Whatever, this House committee member guy's name. I forget his name, but he is pro-crypto. But I think because they're not seeing eye to eye on things, he takes a little jab at him, gets technical, gets a little cute, gives a little funny response. Doesn't really take serious the question. Just listen.
Actually, all securities are commodity under the Commodity and Exchange Act. It's that we are excluded commodities. But I would agree that a security cannot be also an excluded commodity and an included commodity. I'm sorry, Chair, just to talk about the Commodity Exchange Act.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding,
Okay,
ding.
so do you recognize, how would you categorize Ether then?
I think that the general sweep of what Congress did, not just in the 30s, but as amended.
I'm asking you,
here,
sitting in your chair now, to make an assessment under the laws as exist. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
without speaking to anyone.
I know you've
Okay.
repeatedly
It's
said
a
you're not
matter
going to
of
speak to
fact.
one, except you've spoken to one.
This is
Pick
comical.
one.
This is
So
very
I'm asking you to speak to a second one, the second largest market cap here.
And speaking,
And think about what's being asked here. All this guy is asking Gensler to do is to tell him what Ether is. What is Ethereum? Is it a commodity? Is it a security? Now, based on what you witnessed a few years ago, Gensler was pretty straightforward in saying that most of these things are not securities, they're commodities. I mean, you would think with as much knowledge as someone who apparently at one point was passionate enough to teach an entire course on blockchain technologies, he would at least, he's just the chairman of the entire Securities and Exchange Commission. You would think he would be able to ask a very fundamental question, what Ethereum is. It's the number one altcoin. We're not talking about an altcoin that is ranked 2,776. We're talking about the number one altcoin right behind Bitcoin. And if the rules and regulations are as clear as Gary Gensler has touted them to be, and it's just simple to knock on his door and ask for clarity, you would think this is something in front of a congressional committee he would be able to answer very easily, right? Well, let's listen.
to the tokens, there's 10 to 12,000. If there's a group of entrepreneurs in
I'm asking about
the
one.
public is anticipating a profit based on the...
I'm asking you a specific question, Chair Gensler. I said this in private. This should be no shock to you. I'm asking this question. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
And again, it depends on the facts and the law, and if there's a group of individuals...
I'm asking you about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
And so, Mr. Chair, I think you would not want me to prejudge because I'm also...
But you have prejudged on this. You've taken 50 enforcement actions. We're finding out as we go, as you file suit, as people get Wells notices on what is a security in your view, in your agency's view. I'm asking you a very simple question about the second largest digital asset. What is your view?
And my view is if there's a group of individuals in the middle that the public is
All
anticipating...
right, so let me just ask a
based
second
on those
question then.
efforts.
Do you think it serves the market for an object to be viewed by the commodities regulator as a commodity and the securities regulator to be viewed as a security? Do you think that?
Now, let's get to this point here, because if you want to see how to answer a question here, let's get to... Now, this is the head of the CFTC, okay? the Commodities Future Trading commissioner here. Let's get to his response here.
Certainly there are components of interpretation about what constitutes a commodity and security, and without getting into details about the specific tokens you raise, I'll just say this is the reason we're here. There is confusion, there's uncertainty, and there's a number of active cases that are going on.
Wait, there's confusion and uncertainty? I thought Gary Gensler has been saying that the rules are very clear. These rules have been in place forever. Everybody knows how to register. The rules are very clear. Why is he saying there's uncertainty? Quite frankly, I don't understand that.
And hopefully we can resolve some of these differences in the future.
Thank you. And Chairman, do you think the timing of Chair Gensler filing these lawsuits is at all coincidental?
I don't know. Knowing enforcement cases, we deal with this all the time. You're building a case, and when the time is right, because for whatever reason, you got to file the case. So
does the CFTC take into account political or media considerations in filing lawsuits like the SEC seems to be doing?
We do not.
Ethereum, commodity or security?
Congressman, I've said repeatedly, I believe Ether is a commodity.
Do you believe it's possible?
Pretty straightforward, right? The other thing I would point out here, that's how you answer a question. This asset has been out there long enough. And if there really is the clarity that's out there that Gensler is stating there is, you don't dance around a question on the number one market cap altcoin. You answer the question because there's clarity, right? Why is this so complicated to understand? The other thing, and it's why I'm so, unfortunately, it's the only thing in life I'm cynical about, which is politics. Unfortunately, and I don't know if you caught that tidbit of information there you were listening about being politically driven, Gensler is a Democrat, and we do have a Democratic president who is anti-crypto. And I'm not taking a side of Republican or Democrat, but what makes me feel cynical and what makes me feel disheartened as an American is that we're taking this technology and we're turning it into a political debate. This isn't a political debate here. This is about technological innovation and putting the clear rules and regulations in place that fit the technology that allows it to continue to become innovative, right? We do need laws and regulations. I'm not coming out here and saying we don't need laws and regulations. Certainly we need laws and regulations. Sensible laws and regulations that don't stifle innovation and allow it to prosper and help the United States. But clearly that is not what's going on. And there's certainly seemingly a political angle to this. Now, there's something else in this testimony that I want you to understand. One of the things that has been repeated, and I couldn't find the specific video, although I have videos that are very similar in nature, Gary is on record as saying multiple times that, and he was even stronger in this stance, and this is where I couldn't find the specific video. Basically what he has come out and said is, knock on the door, myself, Gary Tyrant Fucktard Gensler, I'm available to register. The laws are very clear. I'm an open book, guys. Just come in, knock on the door, and register. This is what he has said in numerous videos, numerous interviews. He's consistently said that. And he's taken a much stronger stance recently and just said, well, I mean, they just don't want to, they don't like what they hear, and we'll get into this. They don't like what they hear, and they don't want to register because they don't want to come in compliance. Let's listen. The question I want you to ask yourself, and this is the main question I want you to ask yourself, would you believe a handful of major exchanges communicating, all 5 of these major exchanges communicating the same thing, which is we're attempting to get clarity here. Like we're doing our best to knock on the door, as he says, to gain clarity, and we're not getting it. Would you trust these handful of individuals that are in charge of these separate independent entities that buy and sell crypto? Or do you trust one individual that keeps saying the same thing that is counter to that? Who would you believe? This one person or these 5 separate individuals that are saying the same thing? Who would you believe? That's up to you to decide. Let's get into this part.
The traditional finance system. All right, we're going to go to clip 5 here. This is the path to register and how you can do it.
To the extent this allegation were proven to be true, couldn't you simply offer those tokens through your SEC registered broker-dealer?
Well, thank you very much for that question, Congressman. It's a very, very telling question. The answer is no. There are a few coins that have been noted in recent SEC complaints that we do trade on our platform. We are actively reviewing the SEC analysis to determine what, if any, actions to take in that regard. But you would think with a major broker-dealer sitting on the other side of our house, our primary business, we could simply say, okay, SEC, you've just said these are securities. I'm going to go trade them on my broker now. It's impossible without regulatory relief and infrastructure changes in the securities markets. When Chair Gensler, the SEC in 2021 said, come in and register, we did. We actually came in and we did it proactively. We weren't being investigated by the SEC. We did it just because he wanted folks to do it. We thought it was good for our business and our customers. We went through a 16-month process with the SEC.
So listen to what he's saying here. This is the chief legal compliance officer with Robinhood. They had extensive meetings with the SEC. They came in and they did their best to register, and listen to his response here.
SEC staff trying to register a special purpose broker-dealer, and then we were pretty summarily told in March that process was over and we would not see any fruits of that effort.
What? So he was all of a sudden just told in March, after all this work that they did for 16 months, that they weren't going to see the fruits of their labor. I'm very confused by this.
Just for the record, what is the status of your registration effort presently?
I believe it's the technical term would be DOA. We just got an email saying no more talks, but they'd be happy to talk to us.
And yet, like Robinhood, when Coinbase has attempted to do just that, talk about how we could register as a broker-dealer or an ATS or even as an NSE, after months and months of discussion, we were simply dismissed with no response or any counterproposal or ideas coming back from the SEC.
Now, again, if you're being told consistent things, and that's just to the exchanges, and then you're being told something completely different from the chairman, who already has a history of saying one thing several years ago and saying something completely different many years later, who in the fuck are you going to believe? Are you going to believe a clown? The clown over here in Gensler? Or are you going to believe the exchanges? Again, up to you to decide. Listen to this. And I'm going to speed this up because they talk slow. This was an interview that was done just this prior Friday on June 9th. And I do want to get everybody up to speed who isn't. The week of June 5th, which was last week, June 5th, 2023, is when all the major lawsuits started occurring, and the SEC came out and they sued Binance and they sued Coinbase, and they listed like 60 tokens that are securities. And they left it open that there could be more, by the way. They didn't list why they're securities. They just said, yeah, you know, Manus, Sandbox, Chili's, yeah, they're securities. No fucking reason why, but they're all listed. Listen.
Or seeking a bunch of meetings with the SEC during which you're unwilling to make the changes needed to comply with the securities laws.
Okay, so in that, now, this is very important. What he just stated there is that, and this goes counter to what Brian Armstrong is about to say in these upcoming videos that I'm going to share with you here, okay? He's saying that there are representatives from exchanges that are coming in to try to find guidance and are just establishing a bunch of meetings and not liking what they're being told, okay? Which flies in the face, which completely flies in the face of what representatives from Coinbase and other exchanges are saying.
Crypto intermediaries may need to separate the lines of...
There's another section here I need you to listen to, right around here.
First question is, and I don't, at all represent either Binance or Coinbase, but across the industry, it appears like there's a disconnect between how these companies, they say they desire to register, they want to know what coins are secure or considered securities, and there's a disconnect there And my question would be, you've laid out a lot of points about this, but it appears they're frustrated that they can't register. Where do you see the disconnect? Where's this?
Right. There's a lot of frustration amongst all of these exchanges. They're all saying the same fucking thing. It's not like Coinbase or Binance. No, all of the exchanges are echoing the same thing. And if you haven't watched this interview, okay, this global exchange and fintech conference, this was a layup for Gary Gensler. He was in front of a very pro SEC audience here, and I hate to blanket the entire Securities and Exchange Commission. There are awesome individuals, okay, that work for the Securities and Exchange Commission, and it's unfortunate because this fucking ass clown is the representative for the SEC. You can't blanket an entire industry. I know what that feels like working in the health insurance industry as an actuary. Not going to go down that path, but when the ACA came out, just feeling vilified, right? I don't want to vilify the entire Securities and Exchange Commission. Awesome individuals that work for the SEC doing their job, right? But you have an ass clown like this that is a representative of the Securities and Exchange Commission who's saying one thing, and you have all of these heads of the major exchanges that are saying something that is completely different and saying they have no clarity. So let's listen to this.
Let me just say, Rich, I thank you so much, and I thank you for inviting me 8 times. They know how to register. And by the way, all the other speakers at your conference that have registered to raise money from the public, they know how to do it as well, or to seek an exemption to do it in the private capital markets. And we have a number of exemptions to do that as well. And the ones that are operating as intermediaries know how to register. It does take hard work. I think that it's possible this, Rich. There's a business model that grew up.
So what he's saying in here is they know how to register. Right now, the exchanges are saying quite the contrary. They don't know how to register, right? The other interesting thing during this interview, if you watch it, is, again, he's being spoon-fed and lobbied questions here. Very pro-Gary audience here. He's clearly reading off a script. Especially if you watch the beginning, this whole section here, I listened to this on Friday. If you watch his eyes, he's just reading off a script, okay? Very interesting interview. Now, let's listen to Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO of Coinbase.
Great, we never relished the opportunity or the idea of ending up in litigation with our regulator. In fact, quite the opposite. I mean, we spent 30 meetings over the last year trying to be as helpful and collaborative as we could, and really got no feedback. Right? We decided to become a public company, which and shared all this information with them. So, and by the way, I have a great deal of respect for the people at the SEC, the staff, the commissioners. I think our relationship with the chair has been quite difficult, honestly, but there's a lot of really good people at the SEC, and we've had no issue working with every other regulator out there, both in the U.S. but also internationally.
Why has the relationship with Chair Gensler been difficult?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate on his motives or anything like that.
And again, I want to point this out because this is a very important point. What Brian is pointing to here is that they've had no issues working with other regulators, even people that work within the SEC. For some reason, it's this fucking ass clown who, again, like I spoke to earlier, could have very certain political motives, okay, to suppress crypto. Again, this isn't tinfoil hat. This is just when you put the pieces of the puzzle together here and you look at the fact that there was a man teaching at MIT that was pro-crypto, promoting Algorand, saying that 3/4 of the market were, they're not securities, they're more like commodities, and the ICOs don't fit into the context of securities, and no, it's not a legal matter, they're more like commodities, and now he comes out and basically says everything is a fucking security. There's something going on here, obviously, underneath the hood that's not being exposed that more people need to wake up to.
But when he first came into the role, I made an effort to kind of fly out there and go meet with him. I don't know why the schedules wouldn't align. We made several attempts. We eventually did get to meet, but only virtually.
Have you ever had a one-on-one meeting in person with him?
I've never been able to meet with him in person, which is rare.
Think about the gravity of the situation. Now, I am a remote worker. I work from home. I manage from home. I do all those things. You have okay? And my job pales into comparison to Brian's here. But if you have something of grave significance that is monumentally, materially impacting your industry that you're operating in, you would think at some point when you're trying to get a meeting with the head honcho they would have time to meet with you in person. Pretty fucking ridiculous that Brian couldn't get a meeting with this guy, with Gary Tyrant Fucktard Gensler in person. It's all virtual, right? It's a certain level of potential disrespect there. I mean, food for thought.
Every regulator that we have, I've been able to get meetings with, including the heads of government in many of these countries where we operate. It may have been a COVID thing at that time, but it may have been other reasons too. I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem like he wanted to meet with us.
Okay, let's listen to this.
When was the last time you personally met with Gary Gensler, and what did you say?
Right. So when he first came in as the chair, I flew out to New York. I reached out to him. Our teams reached out. I tried to make an effort to connect with him in person because that's what I try to do whenever a new regulator kind of comes in. Unfortunately, we were not able to connect at that time. I'm not sure why we couldn't get on his calendar. And we followed up a few times in the year after that. We eventually got a meeting that was virtual. It may have been COVID related or something like that, but we were able to get a virtual meeting. But unfortunately, it was frankly like a pretty icy reception, I would say. We sort of came in hat in hand and said, "Hey, Chair Gensler, you've asked people to come in and register. Respectfully, we're here to register. What would you?"
That's what he has said. Has he not said that? And I wish I had the YouTube video up of many times he has come up and said, in not so many words, I shared a video with you that said that it's easy coming in to register and they know how to do it, but they just don't want to. But he has been on record saying, knock on the door, I'm very pro wanting to get things done. All you have to do is come in and want to register. This is what Brian is under the impression of as well. Now listen to the response that he has given.
Would you like us to do? What process would you like us to go through? And his response was, talk to your lawyer. I'm not here to advise you.
Oh, that sounds very pro. That sounds very pro innovation and wanting to work with people. I couldn't imagine having, if I worked, I could imagine this at work. Boy, what the ramifications of this would be. If I told my coworkers that if they needed assistance, if they needed me, because I'm very team-oriented, team player, right? If you need my help, just reach out to me and let me know. You can always reach out to me. You can IM me, you can call me, you can email me, whatever form of communication works well for you. And if someone pinged me and just said, hey, you said you were available and, I kind of need your help with this and I need your guidance with something actuarial related. Yeah, if my response was, you need to reach out to somebody else because I can't help you. Like, really? You don't think my boss would be having a conversation with me at some point saying, hey, CBG, that's what they call me at work. Hey, CBG, I'm starting to get word consistently from many people that as much as you advertise that that you are available to help others, it's quite a different story when people reach out. You're always busy and you tell those people to reach out to somebody else who can help them and you're not available. Why is that? Could you please help me to understand that? Clearly, this man is not being held accountable. This is interesting. This is another food for thought here, okay? This is the last piece to kind of bring everything together here, okay? Let me ask you a question. What is the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission? It is to protect investors, to put laws and regulations in place to help investors from a security laws perspective, right? That is an end of story. Like that is it. There's nothing else. I want you to listen to this and ask yourself how appropriate is it that Gary Gensler said this?
Look, we don't need more digital currency. We already have digital currency. It's called the US dollar, it's called the euro, it's called the yen. They're all digital right now.
So, okay, there are a couple things that are just disgraceful and laughable about this. First off, here's a man who, again, I keep hitting on this, that taught a blockchain cryptocurrency technologies class at MIT and obviously had to have been very pro and all for it just a few years ago. Now he's saying that we don't need any more. I just want you to think about that. Two, Why in the fuck is he commenting on this? He's talking about a digital yen and a digital dollar, and we don't need any more of this stuff. That is not the role of the Securities and Exchange Commissioner to comment on that. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Well, it does make sense if you believe that he has political ties and is politically driven and is in bed potentially with banks. Yes, well then it does make sense. But again, I would just pose the question, why is he... All of the things, think about this. He said one thing several years ago, now he's saying another. He's saying it's easy to register and things are extremely clear in the in regulations and laws, and yet even the CFTC commissioner is saying there's ambiguity, and this is why we're here today testifying with these exchanges to understand things, because there's a lot of unclarity, things that are not clear. And you have exchanges saying, yeah, Gary says, knock on the door, come register. We've tried this, and it's been a failed attempt every single time. And you also have an SEC chairman now who is commenting on the relevancy and need, saying that, first off, cryptocurrency, who gives a fuck about that? Let's talk about AI. And by the way, we already have digital tokens. It's called the digital yen and digital US dollar. We don't need this shit. It's all shit. We don't need it. Really think about, put all the puzzle pieces here together. It's not tinfoil hat. Clearly you have somebody who is in charge. And again, this is getting to an opinion-based point of the video. There is 100% factual information in videos I'm sharing with you, and obviously I'm sharing with you my opinion as well. My opinion is obviously there's something underneath the hood here that needs to get exposed. This guy is someone who is in a position of power that is abusing it. He's not authentic. He's not genuine. He's not serving the American public. He's serving his own interests and the interests of those above him. If you appreciate the passion, if you appreciate the realism, and if you appreciate the content and the effort I put in making this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, drop me a comment. Drop me a comment. Drop me a comment. Share your opinions and views. I promise to read them and respond. There is nothing that I have been more passionate about since I've gotten involved in this space since the summer of 2017. This is fucktardery at its brightest moment. First they ignore us, then they laugh at us, then they fight us. Then we win. Until next time, spread awareness and carry the education forward. Fire Gary Gensler.
So what you gonna do, fiat dollar, on crypto bull guy and his crypto maniacs and the entire cryptocurrency market? Run wild!